Actually, there are two type of attackers. So one is an attacker which is attacking for a particular reason. Maybe he or she is willing to snatch money from some account or snatch some data from some account. Their phone is getting attacked every day, and Elon Musk has reported that they are getting attacked on a serious and involved in that country has sent a lot of requests on their servers, and their servers were so busy they were not able to serve.
Hello everyone, I am Nadi, your host today, and I welcome you all to the podcast channel. Today, what we are going to talk about is very common among every one of us. Today, we are going to talk about all the things that are regarding the cyber hacking, how it affects us day to day life, and what we can do to get ourselves better into it. So, here, let us begin. Hello. So, Mr. Upin, I welcome you to the podcast channel Indore.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Doing great. Nice.
Okay, so before we just begin our journey today, first I would like to know about your experience with IT industry and what moved you towards the cybersecurity.
Okay. So, yeah, this is Bendra. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in information technology. My master's is in cybersecurity itself, and that master's degree has pulled me towards the field of cybersecurity. I came to know how to secure the websites and how to secure the transactions, etc. And that brought a lot of interest in this field, and yeah, that's the reason majorly for which I have chosen this field for my work.
Okay, so as you have told us that you have done your master's in cybersecurity, so after working in the IT industry for so many years, were there any breaches that you have experienced and you have just seen your way towards the cybersecurity? Like, this is something that I want to work for, I want to work for something better.
Yeah. So I was a software developer. I have worked for telecommunication domain as well as banking domain and a few other domains as well. And we used to see the fraud cases which come across the banks and other industry. And we were in the root cause analysis team.
If we are talking about the cyber attacks, first of all, I would like to know about the common cyber attacks or some of the dangerous day-to-day cyber attacks that we face in our world today.
Okay. So actually, there are two type of attackers. So one is an attacker which is attacking for a particular reason. Maybe he or she is willing to snatch money from some account or snatch some data from some account. And this is a pinpointed attack for a particular user's account. Then another kind of attack is a mass attack where we generate a lot of requests. So, for example, you might have heard about the X platform is getting attacked every day, and Elon Musk has reported that they are getting attacked on a serious scale. They have also said that some country is involved in that country has sent a lot of requests on the servers, and their servers were so busy they were not able to solve. So this is a second kind of attack where a hacker is willing to stop the server to serve the people.
Okay. So along with that, if we proceed, as you have already told us, and we know that you have a method algorithm that is an authentication system that you have built to just get problem solved regarding the cybersecurity. So I would like to know about that. How, what is that system, how it works, and how it is helpful to the banks that are going to use it.
Okay. So not only bank, all kind of IT infrastructure companies who provide their IT services on internet are potential client to this method. This is a patented method. By the way, we have filed a patent in India and we have also filed a patent in USA. Before that as well, I have a patented algorithm and that is also in cybersecurity itself. So before answering how this method works, we would like to consider how the current systems are working. So whenever you log into server, maybe a banking server or say email servers, maybe Gmail or any other email servers, any other social networking sites, AI platforms, any internet platform you are using, generally what they are doing is they issue a JWT token after login. So maybe you are logging in using a two-factor authentication, or you are logging using username password, or you are logging using the biometric authentication, fingerprints, etc. So by all means, you get a JWT token. Other JWT token is a static token that doesn't change for a longer duration. Maybe earlier the JWT tokens were valid for 8 hours. Then later on, then they were vulnerable. So later on, they got valid for half an hour. Then now, people have realized that they are vulnerable, so they have reduced the validity of those JWT tokens for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, etc. But still, for that particular duration, maybe 40 minutes or 5 minutes, that token is static. Every interaction to the server, every request you send to the server, that request is authenticated using that JWT token. And if somebody gets hold of that JWT token, so if there is a hacker in the system and that hacker copies that JWT token from some request, that hacker can misuse that token to access your account. And using that token, generally, I mean, Microsoft has reported that their tokens are getting hacked. Their tokens were stolen and a lot of data was breached. Then some other companies like Opta, they have also reported that tokens are getting hacked. And hackers are misusing the tokens. They are replaying. This is called the replay attack. So they are doing replay attack. I mean, they are replaying the token to get the information, to post the information, to change the manipulate the account status. Maybe you can do some transactions using those tokens. So as we talk about transaction in India, the transaction happens with OTP. But in other countries, maybe if there is no OTP and only JWT is the authentication, then the transaction happens using that JWT token itself. So that is a static token. It doesn't change frequently. And what we have done is we are also creating similar kind of token. It looks like a JWT, but that token we call it one tick ahead. We call it OTA.
OTA.
So OTA token changes for every request. Whenever you are interacting with the server, you will issue a new OTA token.
Okay.
In that OTA token is generated on client side using some parameters which are secret. And that same token is generated on the server side as well, because there are some shared secrets between client and the server. And using those shared secrets, that token gets generated and validated on the server. And if that token matches exactly, then the request is granted. Otherwise, request is not granted. That's denied. And if you copy that token and if you try that replay attack again, so that replay attack cannot be tried because the OTA token is valid for only one request.
Okay.
The request you are sending, it is generated for that request only. It cannot be used with some other request. Then for that request also, that token is valid only for 1 minute.
Okay.
After 1 minute, that token cannot be reused for that same request as well.
We have to regenerate it.
You have to regenerate. And then the generation parameters are request ID, the device ID, current time, and session key. So whenever you log in, you get a session key.
Okay.
When you log in from a device, you will issue a device ID. So that device ID should not be known to anyone else. That request you are sending is generated by you. So that request ID is not known to someone else. Then session key is generated. I mean, you can exchange the session key using, when you log in, the server can issue a session key. But if you do not want to travel that session key over internet, what you can do is you can generate a session key using there's a Diffie-Hellman algorithm. Using that, you can generate the same key on server and client. So using that session key, that token is generated. Then third parameter is request ID, as I said, and fourth parameter is the time.
Okay.
So whatever the current time is, you hash that current time into the token. So when that request reaches to the server knows what's the time. Server from the request, it picks the request ID. From your session, it picks the session ID and device ID, and that server regenerates the token.
Okay.
And then it is getting matched. And if that token exactly matches, then only the request is granted.
Okay.
So it's a very high security token. If I give you 1,000 tokens, you cannot generate the next token.
Okay.
It's impossible to generate.
So as I was just hearing about you from the JWT token, so in your experience of 20 years as IT professional, and you have worked for all the big companies in your journey, so is there been any incidents that you have found out that the JWT has the breach in it, and it is very silly mistake to be repeated, and you have a solution to it in a better way?
So whenever a problem is reported, what user reports is my account is hacked and my money is stolen, and maybe my data is breached, my data is manipulated, because they do not know that token was hacked. End user doesn't know that. Then maybe on the server side, on the bank side, maybe they know that the token was hacked, but they cannot make it a louder statement about it. They cannot make it public. Why? Because suppose you say that my token was hacked, then a user will ask you what fix you have applied. And when you will say, I don't know any fix, there's no fix to it, it hits your reputation. So, in order to save the company's reputation, the servers and banks do not declare that your token are getting tagged, their tokens are getting stolen.
Okay.
So, I saw many cases, and it was not told that the tokens are getting hacked, but it's a part of realization to see the cases. Maybe I realized that one major possible cause is token theft.
Okay. So as we talk about authentication method, so do you think that it is only helpful to the small scale industries or the sectors, or are we going to move it towards the larger sector industries that it is going to solve their problem as well?
It's going to solve the problem of everyone. Maybe it's a small industry, maybe it's a larger industry. Hackers usually target the banks and the maybe through maybe Google, the big platforms. They generally do not target small industries. But this algorithm is of use for small as well as larger industries.
So as we talk about the process that whenever you were building the system or whenever you were designing the system, so what were the difficulties that you have faced along with the technology, with the data collection or something else? What it came in your way?
So the first is the willingness to do. So maybe in top of your mind, suppose you have realized that this could be solved in this particular way. But a major hurdle is to actually sit down and to actually implement that method. Why? Because generally you are quite packed with your day-to-day activities. You have a family, you have a job, and you have other responsibilities. So taking out time from all these things is the largest hurdle. Then you'll need to sit at home and develop such a kind of method. So a quiet environment and focused approach is required. So that was the major hurdle. Then I was alone who was I'm thinking about it, but when I had partnered with one of my friends. He is my close friend Arvind. So he helped me a lot and pushed me a lot to write the code actually. And then we wrote the patent, and post writing the patent we wrote the method in code.
Up.
So a companion, a friend was needed. That's the major hurdle.
Nah, that's a major thing to have. Okay. So if we talk about while we were discussing later, we had the difference between our OTA token and the JWT token. So if I ask you to mark any three of the plus points that we have with the OTA token as for the JWT token, so how are you going to count the top three benefits that we have?
First is it cannot be generated outside the device for which it is intended for. I mean, suppose you log in from a particular mobile device, the token can be generated from that mobile device only, from the same user who has logged in,
Okay.
and for the same time for which it is created.
Okay.
If you try generating this token outside that device, it will fail. It will not be generated. Then suppose you copy that token and try to attempt. The copy token will not work. You'll need to generate it using the same parameters. And when there are hackers who are very pro in their art, and 99% of hackers do not clone the device, but there are hackers who actually clone the device. So this method works for those as well. And suppose a hacker has cloned the device, then also of course if the device is cloned, one or two tokens could be generated. But we have ways to find out that the device is cloned, and once we detect that the device is getting cloned, we immediately block that particular session. So this algorithm protects from device cloning attacks as well.
Okay. So our authentication method that we have. So if any of the software is being developed in today's world, we see that the technology is growing day by day. So where do you see your method in the upcoming 10 years and how it is going to perform and how it is going to grow in the world?
What we envision is nearly in 2-3 years. It will be replicated in all the major banks and all the major IT infrastructure companies. Maybe it is Amazon, Google, Microsoft. Everybody will have to use it, and all the banks will have to use it, and the government sector companies they have to use it. The I mean, defense doesn't communicate much on internet, but whatever they communicate on internet, if they are using login, they will have to use it. So what we are envisioning is this method will be replicated across all the companies around the globe.
Okay. So everyone in our audience, every person around is using UPI in our day-to-day lives. So do you think that this method is helpful to the people using UPI and is it going to be helpful in any way to them?
Yeah. UPI is also kind of a payment gateway.
Yeah.
And when you log into the UPI application, that is also backed by, if my knowledge is correct, that is also backed by a JWT token. And the request which goes to the UPI server, that also goes using the JWT token. And if you get hold of that JWT token from that application, then, I'm saying you, but if a hacker gets hold of that JWT token, that hacker can hack into the UPI device and can perform transactions on behalf of the end user.
Definitely, that's possible. That's possible. Yes. So apart from that, if we are talking like fun and we just share saying people that precaution is better than cure. So if what could be the precautions that you would guide our audience today that what they can perform or what the security safe measures that they can take that would save them from the cyber attacks that are growing in the world?
Uh, so if we talk about India, the attack is more as compared to
The global level.
the global level. One reason is like at global level, people do not make a louder voice, and we make a louder voice.
Than ever.
But the generally what happens is when what I see, my son also plays a lot of games on my mobile device. So the mobile device is prone to attacks because it has a lot of games and other applications which you do not know, and they are active in background, and maybe some of them are stealing your vital information, maybe tokens or pin and password, etc. So first of thing is we should be watchful of what all applications are installed on our mobile device or computer, and what they are meant for and what they are actually doing. This the and people, especially in India, they are not aware about it. Thought of that.
Okay, so talking about a very common problem these days, people, there are so many passwords and saved in the phone. And as you have just described about your son playing video games with your phone. So if the passwords are same as saved in the phone and if your child or any of the person who's not authenticated is using the phone, so is it just easier to share the password and get the breach in the method that we are using? Or is it safe from that?
So the method which we are discussing is something different. What we are going to propose is you should whitelist a device with your bank or with the other server. So, the way we are envisioning this product to be used is first of all, you will go and discuss with your bank or the server, maybe over phone or some mutual agreed method. So the device itself will be whitelisted, and you will be able to log in using a whitelisted device only.
Okay.
And the login should happen using biometric or two-factor authentication kind of methods. So there will be very less chance of the theft using passwords, etc.
Okay. As we were in our discussion, we have discussed and you told me about that JWT has already decreased its time limit from 30 minutes to 5 minutes. So do you think that makes a difference or it makes it more difficult now?
Actually, you can reissue JWT using refresh token methods. So every server has a method to refresh the token. And if your token is expired, you can go and ask the server, please issue me a new token. So what hacker can do, that hacker can also go to the server and say, please reissue me a new token. And server will reissue without asking second question. So maybe the duration is shrinked, but that JWT is still vulnerable because you can get a new token. sometimes the same token is used for reissue, sometimes a different token can be used for reissue. But I mean, hackers are smart enough, they steal the information and they go to the server and ask, please reissue in token.
Okay. So just don't mind me asking this, but as you have been a professional in the IT industry who has used JWT and you have seen the breaches and you got an idea to work in the cybersecurity, but apart from you, there might be some other people in the world as well who have caught the same idea to work. So how do your idea stands out from the others who have worked on the same field?
Somehow, I mean, I'm not a super intelligent person. I'm also kind of a general software engineer and a general coder. But the the method which people and I have not invented a very new method which is very unobvious and exactly not present in the world. We are reusing the same method which is getting used in authentication itself.
Okay.
But the problem was the tokens which are dynamic. They were expiring on a particular time stamp. And what we have done especially is we have increased the expiry to next 1 minute. So whenever you generate a dynamic token, the token will not expire precisely on a particular timestamp, but it will expire after 45 seconds kind of thing.
Okay.
So every time you issue a token, the token will be valid for 45 seconds. And that's it. We are using the standard methods itself. The thing is, this particular way of working is maybe I'm the first person who is getting know about it, or maybe it is in use in some corner of the world, but it's not publicized enough because major people do not know about it.
Yeah.
And um, and we have filed a patent. So if there are anything which is already invented, we will come to know when the patent will be housed in the courts, and they will review the patents which are already filed, kind of things.
Okay. I completely agree with that, and if something that is applied for the patent, so I would remarkably accept that it is something unique in the world. That is the reason it will get patent. But if we are talking about the pinpoint attack that someone faces on an individual level, so how our method is going to help them?
So pinpoint attack, as we mentioned, is where somebody is stealing data from a particular account. He or she has hacked a particular account. Either they are stealing data or they are snatching money from that particular bank account, kind of things. So this method will generate a new authentication token for every request. And even if that hacker copies the device itself, then also we have a potential to catch that the device itself is copied, and there are two players, there are two cooks in the kitchen, we could say. So whenever there are two cooks in the kitchen, there will be some discrepancy which we can catch. So this method is so strict and so smart that it can catch the hackers who clone the device.
Okay.
So I mean, it will not be possible for a hacker uh, to perform the hacks kind of in a particular account itself as well.
Okay. So recently only we were talking about the device cloning that we had about the token. So how do you think, like, do you have any method to identify or detect that the device or the token is being cloned, and what are the measures that you have taken to avoid that?
So so what we do is we ask for the path you are traveling to come to a particular point. What all requests you have issued before this, and I mean, the genuine user will speak about history. The hacker will also speak about history, and there will be mismatch. And whenever we see a mismatch, we throw out both the sessions. I mean, there is only one session which is getting hacked, so we cut that session dead stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that really works in a nice way. Now, talking about while we were talking about the pinpointed attacks on the individual level, I would also like to know about the mass level attacks that we have on a bigger entity or on the bigger level. So, for that, how our method works for us?
So when you are watching the session so closely that you are generating a token for every request on the client side as well as on the server side, you can keep counts on how frequently you are getting requests from that particular session. And if you are getting a lot of requests from a particular session, you can just cut it off.
Okay.
Then what hackers do is they send multiple requests from the same session, maybe using the same token. they send 1 lakh request or 1000 requests simultaneously. So what we can do there is, when you receive the request, you will see what were your previous requests kind of things. So it will be invalidated there, because you cannot match history when you are parallelly sending requests. The history will be same. So I have sent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the sixth request. So every such request will speak, this is the sixth request, and it will be caught at the server that okay, there is something fraud. Then once you know that the session is corrupted, there are firewalls. So before the server, there are multiple layers in a IT infrastructure. So there are firewalls. You can port the firewall, and that firewall itself will check if it is a valid session. Then only the request will go away.
Okay.
And for such sessions, we can stop the request there itself.
Okay, that sounds really productive. Now, talking about as we were getting to know about JWT, you just said that the JWT generates a static code. So that is a time saving process, as we can see. But on our level, if we are having it changing into every moment, and we are having multiple coded language that we have and into numbers, so it might take a longer time in our process. So how it is better than JWT if that is a static process and ours being a dynamic one?
So this is very interesting. The method we are using is dynamic. It is doing a lot of calculations for every request, but it's using the hashing method,
Yeah.
and hashing is faster. Whereas when you talk about JWT, there is a signature verification involved. So when JWT reaches the server verifies if the request has the right signature, and that signature verification uses encryption, and that takes 1 millisecond.
Okay.
On the server side, it takes 1 millisecond. And when hashing happens, in case of OTA, our token, when the hashing happens, that hashing takes 100 microsecond to 200 microseconds. So it is 5 times faster than JWT.
Okay. When we are talking about the OTA token that we have, we're developing the software or the method. Have you taken help of any artificial intelligence or machine learning?
Yeah, when we were developing this, we have gone through all the sources, may it be Wikipedia, internet, the books, the known methods, how they work. Of course, AI, we lot asked a lot of questions to ChatGPT, how this works, how it works. And then it was very helpful. We got a lot of information from that as well.
Okay.
Yes, we used.
So talking about the language, the programming language that is used in our method, so what it is, and can you just say about it, like how it was helpful there?
We have mostly used Java in our method.
Okay.
And it's a TypeScript language, and it's faster at working. And I had been a Java developer since very long.
Okay.
For decades, I had been coding in Java, so it was very much comfortable to me as well. But this could be coded in every language.
Okay.
There's no restriction.
Okay. So apart from that, from all the discussions that we have, our point was more towards the money matters. So my question in mind is like, our method is only feasible to the money matters, or it is also for the safety regarding the other personal matters, for the personal informations and everything that we have?
It could be used everywhere. May it be defense sector, may it be banks, may it be the social media, may it be rule-based access system, wherein you may it be a system particular to a particular organization. It could be used everywhere.
Okay. So now as we are discussing about authentication method, I would like to know about like what you have done for the human testing levels, and also what are your upcoming marketing and promotion strategies regarding how are you going to take this method into the market?
So when it comes to the security, generally people hesitate to change because they are doing business using some particular method. They hesitate in changing. Secondly, they have invested a lot in a particular method. They have tie-ups, and a lot of money is invested, and they are telling the world that I'm using this particular I'm using the lock from Link, so I'm using a big lock on my system. So that's a part of advertisement as well. So people hesitate to change, and spreading this word is also tough to the level of CEOs and CTOs, because lot of people cannot decide on security. The CISOs, CFOs, CTOs, they can decide on the security level. So reaching to them is a bit tough. And what we are doing is we are approaching our friends and people in network and making blogs and information sharing, etc. And using those methods, we are spreading the word and letting the world know that this kind of method is available.
Okay. So talking about the big names and the big companies and their big softwares, so they might be taking a big cost as well. So do you think that our method is cost effective as compared to them?
Of course, our method is cost effective. What bigger means are doing, they are outsourcing the security. I mean, security is the last thing which you should outsource.
Definitely.
It should be within your boundaries, within your developers. But what big companies are doing, they are outsourcing the security. They are having security partners. They are mentioning that I'm using security from this and this particular company, and they are snatching a lot of money from them as well. I should not say snatching, but yeah, I mean a lot of money is getting invested there. So of course we have a cost effective solution.
Okay. So, as we have discussed that even you have used artificial intelligence into the developing part, but today if we are seeing artificial intelligence, it is a blessing, but as well as a boon. People can use AI to hack things as well. So, do you think our method is safer enough from the AI as well, or do we have a breach into that?
Of course, people are now using AI. AI can generate code for them. So you ask the AI tool that I want to hack this particular system and write me a script. It will definitely it will give you suggest you a script. You can change your language and you can get the script written. Uh, but this luckily this method is safe, and whenever I mean somebody tries, even AI cannot hack into the system.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how, if I'll ask you a deeper question into that, like, how is our method safe from the AI? What means that if we have taken the use of the same AI, how it is safe from the same?
So until and unless the hacker or the AI knows exact keys, the device ID, the session ID, the request ID, etc., everything, it cannot generate the next token. This token is not predictable. So AI cannot predict the right token. And once it cannot predict the right token, it will not be able to hack into this system.
Okay.
So even AI cannot hack into.
Okay, I definitely agree with that. Now, if we are moving towards that, I would like to know about what kind of advice do you have for the common people? And in general, if I would ask you to give advice to our audience regarding our method, how it is useful to them and how can they just reach out to it? So, what could be the way?
So the audience we have is B2B. Unfortunately, this is not a B2C product. We cannot reach directly with the customer, and customer cannot make decisions on the security framework. So this is a B2B product, and the audience majorly is the businesses. The the in businesses also the higher technical level people, the architects, the designers, and the security people, the CFO, CPOs kind of. And the advice to them is, I mean, whenever a hack happens and it gets publicized, and people in large know how the hacks are getting done and how safe they are in the so-called security framework, it hits the reputation of the company. So using the right framework will save your reputation.
Okay.
So if you use the right framework, you will save your reputation.
Okay. So, in case if a business is watching our podcast right now and they want to just reach out to you for the same, so what are the ways?
So we have a website. Right now we are having known as Mukta Labs.
Okay.
So www.muktalabs.com they can visit. They can email us on contact@muktalabs.com.
Okay.
These are the ways.
So, as we have discussed today in today's podcast, we have got to learn that stopping the hacking is possible. Maybe not to the people in general, but to the banks and to the bank, it is very important to be very honest to the vendors and use the right methods to just stop the hacking in itself. For more, you can just like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.